Alright, so how's it going, Amazon class? It's your professor here to talk to you guys about what is Bootstrap. So the next tool we are going to look at will make your lives better is Bootstrap. If you hated the CSS portion, you'll probably love Bootstrap. So I've used Bootstrap in the past. It's a great framework. Bootstrap is a CSS framework. In our CSS lesson, we mentioned there are free CSS templates you can use to give yourself a starting point. Bootstrap is a collection of some seriously nice CSS code that will make just about any site look great. Bootstrap 4 is the latest version. So one of the best things about Bootstrap is that it's geared toward making responsive sites, which can save you a lot of extra work in the CSS trying to make pages that look great on mobile. In fact, the only downside to Bootstrap is that it can make your site look a little generic, like every other Bootstrap site in the world. So Bootstrap is not only CSS framework out there, but it's mostly widely used. In a 2008 survey, you can see that 35%, which is more than the whole demographic side, use Bootstrap. And then the 33, which is the second part, which is secondly, there's no framework. And then you have your custom framework, and then you have your semantic UI, which I kind of recommend. This is a fairly new framework, and I haven't really dabbled into Boma Materialize yet. Alright, so what is a framework? Alright, so just follow the plan and everything will be fine. So we said Bootstrap is a framework. So what is a framework and how is it different from a library? So let's revisit our definition of a library. A library is a collection of pre-written code that helps you perform a task. A framework is a collection of libraries that provide a standard way of building and deploying applications. The key words to focus here is a standard way of building. When you decide to use a framework, you could be saving yourself months of work, maybe even years of work in some cases, just by adopting it. So however, the price of using a framework is that you give up a certain amount of control over the project to use it. You create your app to fit the model of a framework. A framework dictates how you will write your code. So another program put it in this way. Your code uses a library to get the job done, but a framework uses your code to get the job done. So when it boils down to a framework, a framework give us a plan or a blueprint on how to build software. Learn the framework, follow its rules, and your app will work. You will give up a certain amount of design control by following the framework, and for most of us, that's a good thing. So the bottom line, framework save us time, making developing easier, and save us from making bad decisions. In this case, Bootstrap saves us from ugly looking CSS. So adding Bootstrap. So go ahead and go on this website here. And then go ahead and download the compiled CSS and JS. This is ready to use, or you can get the source file, download the source. I downloaded both, and then I go ahead and add it to my Lab 12. And here I'm able to use this framework, the Bootstrap framework. So Bootstrap 4 is right now is the current version, and just to give you guys a so this is the source right here. So when you get the source, you have all these packages loaded inside, and then here, if you want, you could just get the files that need it. So it's just JavaScript. So here you just have your Bootstrap, and you have your CSS, and then you could also do an npm install on Bootstrap, which I've done here. So if I just run a terminal, let's see if I can open terminal. You could just do an npm install on here, right? Npm install Bootstrap, and it'll install the necessary dependencies for it, like plugins and those variables that you need. So alright, so we got Bootstrap downloaded. So you guys already know that to add Bootstrap into your file, you just do a link rel or script source and just add it in that way. So if it's Bootstrap CSS, then you do this, and if it's JS, then you do script. Let's go ahead and jump over to, was it point 2 of our lesson? 12.2 Bootstrap grid. So in CSS, we learned How to use CSS Flexbox to create responsive layouts and positioning our elements on the page. Bootstrap has an alternate system called Bootstrap Grid. This lesson covers the differences. So to get started using Bootstrap, give the parent element the BS class container. Inside the container parent, we'll create elements for our horizontal rows with the BS class rows. Inside our rows, we'll create our cells with the BS class column. Each Bootstrap row is made up of 12 columns. So A, we have many options on our column class. We can use suffix such as -xs, -sm, -md to apply the column layout to different screen size. So here you have extra small, small, medium, and large. And this is just already preference to each of this coding example. So we can specify the number of columns to make up a column dash star, where the first dash is the screen size and the second dash is the number of the columns. The Bootstrap grid is a single row with 3 columns. Each column takes up 4 units of the 12-unit grid for a nice 3-column layout. So Bootstrap grid. So here, the row is made of 3 columns of uneven sizes. This row is made of 4 columns of uneven sizes, as you guys can see. So example, media sizes. So let's add the screen size restriction. So this code says on a medium size screen, these columns are 4 units wide, but on a small screen, make them 12 units wide instead. So this is a common way to create responsive layout. On a small screen, we can stack elements. So result, on the screen we have over 991 pixels of uneven columns. And right here, this is what you're gonna be doing. On a screen with less than 676 pixels, like such as a mobile, this is where it go ahead and automatically resize. So 5 margin. In this example, we're going to create 2 panels of content of the left and right with the open space between them by using Bootstrap Auto Margins. So ML Auto stands for margin left auto. Setting the ML Auto pushes the element to the right. So and then to push it to the left, you do MR Auto, stands for the margin of the right auto. So this pushes to the left. So ML, so the L right here, just remember, and R are just the changing factor. Result, here you'll just have your left and your right margin pushed out. So align items, vertical alignment. We can use align item start, align item center, and align items ends to set vertical alignment to all the child elements of a parent. Be aware in this example, we are using 2 non-Bootstrap custom CSS classes called .tall and .short to set the height of the elements in pixels. Alright, so here you have your results. Boom, boom, boom. Align items, vertical alignment. We can use align self start, align self center, and align self end to align child items relative to their parent. Again, here you can just do align self start, center end, and then boom, boom, boom. So here you'll have like a stair example. Hopefully you can use Bootstrap to give us an easy way to work with a layout, and you can be worth using just the Bootstrap grid layout here. So here, go ahead and download this file here. If you need additional resources, go ahead and go on this website, and it just talks a little bit more about the grid systems and the documentation of Bootstrap, which you guys should probably get familiar with. It's a really great framework. And this right here, site.point. So here, Bootstrap grid, mastering the most useful Flexbox properties. What is a Flexbox? You guys already understand what that is, and this right here is going to integrate the Bootstrap grid system. All right. So let's go ahead and dash over to 11 and 12.3. So in this experiment, I want you guys to be using Bootstrap grid to lay out items. Practice using the following Bootstrap grid classes. Number 1, the container. Number 2, the row. Number 3, the column. Number 4, the align item start. You know what we did, align stuff start end, using the dash this and that, and then go ahead and recreate what we just talked about earlier. All right, so here let's go ahead and open this up and see what is the 12-2 all about. All right, So here you have your Bootstrap grid, you have your columns. They're evenly inside this container, but they all have different size proportionate from this column to the next column, but the row still looks, the column still looks the same, but the row, they all have different factors in here. Here you have your margins set to align to the left, center, middle, and that's going to be it for your 12.2. So that's going to be your lab right there. Let's go ahead and push over to 12.4, which is your Bootstrap classes. So that's your lab. Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to take a tour of some of the custom Bootstrap classes and what they offer. So there are some that we will cover here, but these are some of the most useful. Jumbotron, the famous Jumbotron used to make section of your site stand out. So here you have your grab someone's attention. Bootstrap makes creating great looking websites easy. Nav bar creates a site's navigation header section for great looking nav bars. Nav for individual items in the nav bar. So here you have your nav class image, and then this is just going to be all your navigation bar. And here, this is a great layout. So cards can be used to content containers and can be used to hold text, images, or represent items. So this is just it's just like the same idea as a container. Here you could set contents inside of it. So here you have your cards. So here you'll have, you click this card, or this card, and definitely, if you have the right JavaScript type of tool, you're able to interact with it. But right now, this is just showing you a format of a layout, how it's supposed to look. So we're just still working with the user interface. So the carousel is often used on the front page of a site to create striking images that can be clicked through. See the 12-3 components HTML to see the interaction. Below will walk you through the code. So here, go ahead. You'll see your div ID, your OL class, order list, your list items, your wrapper for this. So these are your indicators. Kind of notice these are a great way to just look at the comments and proofread it over your next, coding or whatever information that you need to know. So wrapper for slides. Here you just use your div and you have your class. You go ahead and pull some of this image from whatever that you need to pull it out from, and you have your left and right controls. And then you can use span class, and then here you use href equals my ID, the slide equals to preview, and then go ahead and end it off with your anchor tag. So the code begins with the div class of carousel slide. This acts as the container for the carousel. The next section labeled indicators layouts of the data targets of the carousel. The indicator has a data target and a number of data slides from 0, 1, and 2. Notice the setup is an ordered list, and we'll give in the data target a name for the hashtag mycarousel. Third section, carousel inner, simply describes the inner each picture with the image wrapped in a div of a class carousel item. The final section describes the control of a carousel. Here we have two controls, carousel control priv and the carousel control next. Each control points to the indicator to understand what control should do. Finally, it's critical that bootstrap.js and jQuery are linked to the HTML head so that the code works. All right. So buttons are pretty simple. We can use our standard HTML button. Bootstrap styles the buttons with the Bootstrap class. These classes are useful for different kinds of operation. So pretty cool. You have your buttons. Alerts. With Bootstrap JS, alerts are beautiful and elegant and no longer act as an annoyance to the user. In this example, you use jQuery to create a Bootstrap alert when a button is clicked. Here, you use your jQuery, what we did earlier. You use your dollar symbol. You have your ID alert, and then you have your class append. Go ahead and use your div class. This is gonna be your string alerts in the Bootstrap. That looks great. And then button and tooltips. For a tooltip to work, you must add the popper, a JS script from your HTML. Go ahead. So here you're just using the Bootstrap, your proper.js. On any element, you can add a tip that appears when hover over these attributes. You have your data dash toggle equal will always be set to tooltip. You have your placement, where the tooltip will appear, and you have your title. The title of the text that will appear in the tooltip. Then to trigger the your HTML script, add a jQuery statement. So here element.tooltip. Here you just download the 12-4 components.html. So earlier when we were opening the 12-2, let's go ahead and overview what we just went over. So it's just kind of like a great way to go ahead. So here is pulling from the Bootstrap CDN. So here just pulling from the website, and here you'll have your styling, and then you have your body, and so you're just using your B class, what we did earlier, how we align self start column, column MD short, row line items end to tall. So row class. So this is just all of the coding that was given in that earlier figure. And let's go ahead and review 12-4. So we go ahead again, script source some of the APIs. So here we have the Google API. We have the pulling from jQuery, Bootstrap, Popper.js, and Bootstrap, the CDN. And here we have your nav class, image, nav bar, nav link, section class, Jumbotron. You have your header, your div class, and your image source. Here all your contents. And here we talk about indicators, wrapper for slides earlier on the lesson, what we're going through in our lectures. And here this is your script here, and then you're gonna have your button tooltip function, alert, and here you'll have some of these strings that's gonna come out live. All right, so when that happens, okay, let's go ahead and open it up. So it's gonna be components.html. So it should open here, right? Wow. So this is Bootstrap, so grab someone's suggestion. Bootstrap makes creating great looking websites easy. So one of the great apps out there, or great company that uses Bootstrap and they're famous for creating it, is Twitter. So Twitter is the main creator of Bootstrap. So grab someone's attention. Bootstrap makes creating a great looking websites easy. So you have your cards, your navigation bar, your container, your header, your image, and then here you can create an alert. Alerts in Bootstrap looks great. Here it's just an unending loop. So great feature here. You could jump around if you wanted to create some different site navigations that you get into. All right, so that's going to be your 12-4. Let's go ahead and jump over to our last lesson is your lab. So here you're just going to do your laboratory work for 12.5, your Bootstrap practice using the Bootstrap documentation, get started introductions, and 12.4 components as your guide. Create your own Bootstrap enable page. What creates you is up to you, so feel free to experiment. The only requirement is that you incorporate at least 4 Bootstrap components, the Bootstrap grid and the Bootstrap nav bar. So for this project, make sure you guys do the documentation, which is go ahead and give your title, your professor title, or whoever you're sending it to, your date, and your class, and then you're gonna have your title, and then your body, whatever you guys, your summary, your introductions, and your problems that you might have. And then after you have your documentation, also include a zip folder of all your pages. So make sure you have your zip folder that's included all your coding, which would be your HTML, CSS, and JS, right? Have that all wrapped up and send it out for lesson 12.5. That's what I need from you guys. All right, so other than that, let's go ahead and end the note for lesson 12. You guys have a great rest of your time of coding and experiencing what Bootstrap is. All right.